Are you ready? Can Crushers. It don't really get no better than this the podcast that you're looking for if you're really heavy into wrestling. Hosted by the Mark. Energy that's so amazing. Gotta keep it entertaining. Rep the Can Crusher Nation. Yeah, you know what's going down in the ring. Lights out when you hit a ding ding. Knock 'em out like boom bada bing. Hold it down, you can crown me the king. Got a shout out to the Miz and Duke the Dumpster. We choke slamming everybody. Power driving, hit 'em with a face buster. Yeah, this the show you need and it ain't no need for waiting. Mark, hold it down for the Can Crusher Nation. All about wrestling and keep it entertaining. Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast. Time to break 'em, let's go. Yeah, Can Crushers. Yeah, Can Crushers. Let's go.
Hi everyone, this is Ringside Rain and you're listening to Can Crushers Podcast. And now, here is your host, Mark the Mark Martinez.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast, the Spotlight Edition. I am your host, Mark the Mark Martinez, and holy cow, I'm still bouncing back from the crazy week that we had last week of spotlights. Rookies to veterans to Hall of Famers. If you haven't checked out what happened last week, make sure you go back and give them all a listen. It is enough to just take over a day. Give Can Crushers a day and just listen to those spotlights, because I build it that way because you hear from young Jada Stone just getting into the business. Then you hear 20-year vet Glenn Spector, and then you get the encompassing, that's not even a word, but you understand how excited, I'm still excited about it, of hanging out with Bushwhacker Butch. Yeah, man, if you haven't listened, go back and listen on all your favorite platforms. Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, the list can go on and on. Wherever you're listening to the podcast, you know we're there. Just listen. Today's spotlight, guys, get ready. I'm going to announce this. It is Highlander Michael MacGowan. 25 years in the business. And ready? I don't know. This is going to be fun. I'm going to learn so much. He's around the Pittsburgh area, independent wrestlers, but he's been through a lot. I know who his trainer was. So there's kind of a little bit of a connection from one of the people that I mentioned earlier, a second ago, to Michael. So I can't wait to hear kind of some more stories there. And I'm excited to hear some of his other stories, if they're just like some of the ones that we've had on recently, a la Glenn Spector. So, yeah. So we got to dive into this. I'm super excited. Thanks for all the support last week. I checked out the numbers a little bit, and holy moly, they're pretty awesome. It was probably the best week in Can Crusher history, but when you come loaded like that, that is what you expect. It was all out. We went all out as well. I'm such a mark. I really am. By the way, I'm at Dynamite right now, so this is definitely pre-recorded. Guys, let me tell you about Collar and Elbow. Hats, hoodies, tees, sweats, all the cool stuff that Al Snow and his hooligans have down at Collar and Elbow. Make sure you head over, check them out, and when you're going to check out, use the promo code CANCRUSHERS. All one word, capital C in Can, capital C in Crushers. You will save 10%. We used to say it's shipping and maybe parking. It still might be parking, but it's definitely not shipping anymore with the way everything's up, but that's not our podcast. All right, guys, right around the corner after you hear from Al is the Highlander, Michael MacGowan, and we're going to learn how to be a Highlander, maybe what else is going on. I did a little research. We're starting with that. Teaser!
Wrestling. A love and a passion we all share. I've started a wrestling brand. The wrestling brand. A brand founded on the aspects of wrestling. Two entities working together to create a product that connect emotionally for people everywhere. Collar and Elbow is the brand. Passion and love for wrestling is the drive. I am Al Snow, and this is Collar and Elbow, the wrestling brand.
And welcome back to Can Crushers Podcast, guys. You heard how excited I was to talk to my guest today. We round here, by the way, guest, just to let you know, about 25 years in the business, and I'm so excited to hear some of these stories that are going to come out. It is the Highlander, Michael MacGowan. Welcome to Can Crushers. How you doing tonight?
Heyo, doing good. How are you doing over there?
Doing well. Before we get into wrestling, of course, I need to dive into one thing.
Okay.
Because you could be making a ton of money from me real quick. Are you making wrestling belts? Did I see that?
I make my thing is that I'm into everything. So like I am Tony Stark without the millions of dollars. I make wrestling belts. I make all kinds of stuff. If you get over to my merch page, you can actually see other stuff that I make over there as well. Yeah, I can do belts. I've done belts. I've almost done belts the entire time I've been in wrestling. Most all the promotions I've been with have used the belts that I've made.
So you'll make like custom belts, like with like the Can Crusher logo possibly on it.
Yes.
Yeah, we need to talk. We definitely need to talk because that needs to happen. And you're on the show. And essentially, you're local for me. You know, Pittsburgh's local for me, so that's close enough. Or wherever we're dubbing it Pittsburgh,
Yeah.
Close enough that it can happen in a day. Well, I know it takes longer than a day, but you know, the pickup and everything, the exchange can all be like down, and then I can wear it from Pittsburgh back home and look like the mark that I am.
Yeah, just wear it to get you out the gas station. And like, oh, don't mind me, just Champ over here, just fucking filling up.
Yeah, you know I'd clearly do that. We need to work something out. We need to make this happen. My wife goes back and listens to podcasts because she's intrigued about the stories of wrestlers and everything. So, honey, this is your hint for Christmas. Let's make this work.
Hint, hint. Wait, nudge, nudge.
We're just going to make it happen. So, what organizations have used your belts then? It will get to your career. We really will, but this is just fascinating right now.
Let's see. Underground used them. 3RW currently uses my belts. PWX used my belts for most of their career. IWC actually used one of my belts off the side, like just for a little bit. A couple into independents in the South. I know some a video game tournament for like pro wrestling on the NES. They use my belts for their tournaments.
No shit. Oh my god. That's awesome. That. How long does it take to make a belt? Like I tell you right now, here's the Can Crusher logo. Start making it. What's the turnaround time?
Turnaround time, like if you were to order today, let's see, it's August.
No, it's September, but that's okay.
Oh, it is. Fuck, it is.
That's our Bushwhacker
Luke. Early
Luke.
September. You're looking at about November, December.
See, that's perfect timing then. Again, the whole Christmas thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
You were only a day off. When we spoke to Bushwhacker Butch last week, he thought it was April. So maybe that whole New Zealand type of exchange, something goes wrong. I don't know. We let him go because how can you fight with Bushwhacker Butch, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, Michael, let's do the rewind because I really like the story about how people get into wrestling and everything. When did you discover it? Who said, hey, you have to watch this because you're going to do this when you grow up? Or did you have to hide it from, like, your parents? Like I did for a while.
I got interested into pro wrestling back in high school. And this was back when WCW was beating WWF in the the ratings. Monday Night Wars were strong.
The 83-week time, yeah.
Yeah, like it was strong. And I had a guy, and we used to get together to watch, and he's like, "This is great. This is fucking awesome. You know what? We could fucking do this." He's like, "I know a guy who's a cameraman. He does this stuff up at the Eastland Mall. We should go up there and go see if we can be pro wrestlers." And I had no idea at the time what he was talking about or anything, because I didn't know what the hell independent pro wrestling was. I only knew it was on TV.
Yep.
And that's how I kind of found out about Pro Wrestling Express up there and all those other guys. And they had a TV shows like ECW at late at night, and then they were on afterwards.
Yeah, they were.
I'm like,
they were.
Oh my! It was a completely different time. And I went up there. I didn't actually meet up with them to start training. But like it was, I was like, I graduated high school in '97. I basically started training in like '97. But I found a guy out of the Kmart back room. It's a Kmart now, or it was, but it was a gym in North Versailles. And it had a ring set up and a bunch of guys, and that's how I met guys like Devil Budokan. And I got started with him. And
that's crazy because, again, we're going to use this 3-hour window from where I live to roughly where you are, that we had no clue. We graduated in 95. We had no clue that indie wrestling was a thing either. Nor did we know it was that damn close, or you would have seen us all the time. Like, we only stumbled upon, like, big time wrestling came to Altoona, and we're talking, Christ, we're married and we have kids. Like, it took us until, I don't know, 2012, and that's how far, like, we were behind. We heard about it, but we never went, and, you know, big time in IWC, and now Imagine, and all these other ones that, you know, 2PW, and all these ones that are now popped up that we'll choose to go to those if Raw is in Pittsburgh the same night, or if WWE, because it's just that much better. So I wave the flag of independent wrestling. That's why I love talking to you guys. But yeah, I don't know why the hell we didn't know anything about it up here. Well, we didn't know anything about it up here for a long time. And we are, I'm going to be the dick. We are the wrestling guys up here. Like, people, random people are like, Hulk Hogan, who did he wrestle in WrestleMania 1? Or like, okay, we just run through stuff. And then they're like, we only wanted WrestleMania 1, not up to 35. We're like, well, we're just telling you our knowledge now. But yeah, it's amazing how that little bit of a 3-hour window, there's such a gap. So, sorry, that's my tangent.
Well, back in the day, there was APWF, or were they calling themselves APWF 2000? I can't remember. That was Chris Lash, and he had a whole thing up there back then.
Yeah, that's roughly when we kind of stumbled upon it. So, yeah, like I said, we were both, my buddy and I were both married by then. Kids were on the way, So, yeah, it took us out. You have 13 years on us, but you're 2 years younger than us. So let's talk about some of your favorites growing up as well. You're in the Attitude Era. You're in that hotbed of NWO and all that. So I have to know who you're going to pick, but let us know.
It was a really interesting thing, and like what really turned around, like I became like a big fan of like Undertaker to start.
Good call. Good call.
It was between that and like the Lucha explosion that was the WCW Cruiserweight division. Like there was nothing that could top that, and there still isn't, honestly.
Agreed. Agreed, because I'm not a huge flippy wrestler guy, and I always throw this guy under the bus. He's uber talented, but man, I can't watch his matches. Ricochet, like he flips to flip.
Yeah.
All the luchas in WCW didn't do that. Like they'd flipped, but there was a purpose for it and everything. It was poetic. I'll put it that way.
Oh yeah, the early matches, talk about like early Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko,
Juventud.
Guerrero back before he went crazy.
Yeah, agreed. That was the hotbed. Like, I don't think it'll ever get back to that. But I'm glad we, as a whole, were alive to experience that.
Oh yeah.
So, sports as a kid when you were going through high school.
Volleyball. Actually, that was my sport. I actually didn't get into a whole lot of anything else. I didn't actually have a whole lot of time. I had a friend who talked me into wrestling. I did actually go up and I committed to like one practice session for wrestling, and it wasn't too bad. But I never got into it back then. I honestly don't know what the transition was that got me into pro wrestling. I have no idea. It was like when I was growing up as a kid back in the 80s, and I used to go over to the old folks' place, and all the adults had Saturday night main event on or something. And I'm like, man, they're watching wrestling. I want to watch cartoons. I want He-Man.
Yep.
I did not like wrestling back then. I don't know what happened in like 10 some years that someone switched like, fuck, this is awesome.
Can you go back now? And I'm sure you have, because I feel that I know the answer to this too. Do you go back now and watch some of the stuff from the 80s?
Oh, yeah, especially like getting caught up on like the NWA stuff, because I wasn't even aware of what the NWA was until I got more into it. Like, I think at the time, NWA had come into WWF, and you had like the Headbangers got the tag belts and that when they were on TV with it. I'm like, what is this? Like, there was a whole other like thing out there they were talking about. Like, it wasn't even the internet. Like, there were very few people I could talk to about it. Like, what the fuck was going on?
Right.
We didn't have the internet, kids.
No,
we actually
we had rotary phones too. Look up that. Find out what the hell a rotary phone is, or a black and white TV. When did you discover my favorite 80s organization? This blows people's mind. I lived and died AWA. Like, and look at the people that's come out of that. When did you discover AWA then?
I didn't actually discover AWA until after I started wrestling. Like, it was like 98 before I started like hearing anything about AWA, because there until I actually was like part of that community, I had no one to like talk to me or like give me any kind of info. And once I was in the community, it's like, oh yeah, you got to look up this and you got to watch this, and we got tapes of this, and you'll definitely want to watch tapes of this because this is really going to help you out here. And I'm like, well, what is this? It was like getting into it back then was like it was like stepping into like a new kind of club where like there was information people knew that, like, unless you were part of it, like truly part of it, you had no idea what they were talking about.
Yeah. And if other people knew that you were part of it, wrestling wasn't cool when we were growing up. Like, we thought it was. Of course we did, because we're the marks that we are. But if people were like, oh, you watch wrestling, you got this stigma just put on you that you're like, oh, these people, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't care. And tape trading, kids, I know you kind of know about it, but we're talking, this is months after. Like, there was no closed circuit to watch stuff around here. You read about what happened in WrestleMania 1 to 5 before you saw it, because you had to find either a video store that would get it in that late, or somebody that knew somebody that recorded it illegally, and then you traded that tape, and you're like, oh my God, I read all this, but this is so awesome. So, yeah, tape trading was crazy, and my buddy and I tape traded, like, he didn't have ESPN, so I would record those AWA shows, because, mom and dad spoiled the shit out of me, so we had to hire a TV package, so at home, latchkey kid here. Look up that term as well. I love all these throwbacks that we're using today, by the way. Latchkey kid here. AWA was on at like 3:30 in the afternoon on ESPN. I would record them. A couple months later, I would send like a couple tapes to my buddies. Like, this is what's going on in AWA. I'm like, yeah, what's going on in WWF? Because I didn't get WWF for the longest time. I got AWA and NWA. Crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. All right. So you make the decision. Yeah, I told you this was going to go all over the place, Mike. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
You make the decision to go to training. Do you go to the first one you find? Do you test a couple out? And let's talk training, because training from then until now has changed dramatically.
Oh, it truly has. So the first place I wanted to go was, I was talking to PWX, but PWX kind of got me with a little bit of sticker shock. They were like, I forget, it was something like $2,000, $2,500 for training, and here I am. I'm a young kid. I have like no money, and I'm thinking I could do payments, but somehow I got hooked up. Cell phones weren't big at the time, but I had one because at the time I was walking like 5 miles to work every day. I worked at a restaurant, but I would walk because it was cheap and it was good for the exercise. And I got a cell phone because I wanted, in between, if anything was happening, like, hey, what's going on? I can hop on a bus, do whatever, meet you somewhere. And I was talking to my cell phone agent, like, they have a wrestling ring at my gym. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, no. I'm like, well, fuck yeah. So I head up there, and that's where I met those guys, and they got me started up there. Now, afterwards, I did get the money together, and I went to train at the Ken Spence School in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I don't know if you ever heard of Ken Spence.
I have not.
As Jim Cornette told me, the wrestling rises and sets with Ken Spence in the South. So he had a really good school. He brought in Demolition Axe. He brought in Bobby Fulton, guys like that to come in through, and just my first day there, they whooped my ass. They want to make sure I wasn't wasting their time. They put me through the ringer. But they taught me a lot of stuff. And after that, it really became that, no matter what happens, that I was not going to stop training. So, a lot of places, I've been to, I was just there for training. Shirley Doe has held, a couple different schools, and I've gone there to work out with him when he's been training people. I worked out at the IWC school, I worked out at the PWX school, I worked at the Black Diamond school. My training just never stopped because I wanted to learn from as many people how they did it and the nuances of what they did, so that I could also incorporate a lot of that and become better. Not only just better, but just skills training all the time. Even if you're not working shows all the time, if you're at least working out, if you're at least training and going over stuff, even if it's the basics, or if it's something you get all these new kids are just brand new to it, and their heads are still full of hope and optimism, and they want to do all this stuff, and you really do pick up a lot of stuff from people like that.
Yeah, and I like how you are pretty adamant, very adamant, whatever you want to use, that continue to train. Once you're 18 months or 2 years or whatever the allotted time that your trainer allows you to be called training, you still go. Things change, and you can learn every day. As you said, shit changes, and that's just the best way to do it. And you should learn something every day. It's just good as a human nature to learn something every day, to never let your brain go blah, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So let's talk about that first day of training, because this is the story. There's a story here because, as I said a minute ago, there's a different concept of training back then. I know it's 25 years, but They wanted to beat the shit out of you to make sure you're coming back and not waste their time.
Yeah.
Did you think, I'm done?
Actually, I did better than a lot of people. Like, the first class that I started with, there were like 20 of us that started wrestling, and I was the only one that survived.
That's crazy.
Like, there were guys that they had hopes and dreams, but it didn't last whenever you had to, like, well, we got training tonight. We got to go training. It's like, we got to do this. We got to do that. And I was like, nope, nope, nope. And one by one, they all started just falling out. They just couldn't, do it. They couldn't keep competing. And it's like, they wanted the fame now. They wanted to be on shows now, but like, they didn't have the skills now. Like, running the ropes. My gosh. And that's where, continual skills training comes in. Like, your first day running the ropes, you get sore, you get tired just from trying to, like, do it the right way. Foot placement, turning, making sure you grab the rope, all stuff like that. And you don't realize how much that takes into account until, like, years later. You start in a 16-foot ring, you go to an 18-foot ring. I had an opportunity to work out in a 20-foot ring, and that's different. That's a game changer. It's like that, like, you got to work on your cardio for a 20-foot ring. And, like, if I was not expecting that, that was like my first day all over again, just trying to do the same workout in a 20-foot ring.
One thing you said that you didn't say, that I'm going to put a word in your mouth about talking about people coming in and out of training, passion is what I heard you say. That they didn't have the passion, the will, the desire. And he's not saying that. Michael is not saying that. I am saying it, so don't come back at him. Come at me if you want to come. But I know. I know. They just give up. Like you said, they wanted the Walk of Fame star already, but they didn't want to put in the work.
Yeah. I mean, there are lots of guys that put in the time, the work, and have done really well for themselves, but they went through that. They survived their training. They did what the trainers asked them to do. They were able to show off their skills and prove that they could be not just a wrestler, but they themselves a product for going out there, something for the fans to consume. I mean, because that's what you have to be, because otherwise, it's a different sport. Like, you have to be your own product.
Yeah, you have to be your marketing tool. And let's steal what Ricky Morton said one time. You have to put asses in seats. The company wants you to put asses in seats, but they don't need to. They can call up Randy Orton to come and pay the big bucks or something to get you there. They want you to provide that, though, too, because that's extra money in both of your pockets then.
Yeah. I mean, that, like, if you bring in somebody this show, they're not bringing them in next show. You have to be the reason they come back.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So how do you get linked up with Devil Budokan then?
He was there working out with everybody else. And it was just, I don't even know how, but like, they were just there, and I agreed to, like, help with ring crew and do stuff with that. And I didn't get to a whole lot of shows, but I did get onto one show. It was me versus Scott Venom, and that was my first match, November 1998.
Do you have the tape, and do you rewatch it ever?
I do have the tape. I have it digitalized. I believe I have it on YouTube. I will watch it sometimes. Like, I was trying to make a highlight video recently, so I at least watched it. Like, I am horrible in it. I am so stiff in that. It's cringeworthy to watch it now.
You hear that a lot when you talk to anybody. I mean, you're green, as green as can be, and you're just like, you get caught in your emotions, right? How was it? Because I've never walked through the curtain. I've ring announced a couple times, but it's a different feeling. I would imagine it's a different feeling. What were your emotions that day?
Uh, I don't know if I was ready, despite what they were telling me, and they're like, yeah, you're just gonna. It was a normal day for them. It's like, you're just gonna go out there, you're gonna do the thing, you're gonna go do what we talked about, and this, that, and the other, and that's gonna be it. And I'm like, are you serious? Like, I'm like just having a fit. Like, this is all normal for them. Like, fuck. Like, I just got my gear together and everything. I came out as the Highlander, Mike MacGowan, all those years ago. It's just been this thing that stuck, with my kilt on and my hair in braids, and like I was just not ready. And there was a crowd of people. Like, there was a lot of people, and I was not expecting that. It was a good crowd too. Like, they were really into it. But damn, like, it was just like it took all of me to stay focused on what I was doing. I think that's why I was so robotic, because like it hit me more just coming out for that. Like, there's nothing that really prepares you for that.
Right. I know. I don't know the wrestling aspect, but the couple times that I ring announced, they get excited when they hear the music just for the ring, and I'm like, oh man, this is me right now. What am I gonna do? How am I gonna stumble across my words? And people that listen to Can Crushers know that I stumble because I get excited. I love wrestling and I love talking to people. Now
it's so easy to get excited.
Yeah, now I'm gonna announce this person's name that I've watched for a while, and I'm going to F something up pretty bad. I didn't, but in my head, I'm like slowly pronouncing words. But I know I was talking like that, like Alvin and the Chipmunks. I was just rambling, and I'm like, I watched the highlights of me announcing, and I'm like, shit, stay at the podcast, Mark. You can edit that out. You can't edit stuff out when you're in the ring.
And it's amazing to, like, from my first match to, like, my last match that I had, it was me versus Destin Vane. And here's a guy that I've worked with for like 10 years or so. So it's like we're gonna go out there. What do you want to do? It's like, it's you and me, man. It's whatever. This is gonna be the finish. We're gonna do this, and yeah. And it's like, we didn't even really talk about it at all. At all. We just went out there, and we were just two guys wrestling, and it was the easiest match, and it got over so well. And it's amazing how easy that was compared to how long ago trying to do that. It's amazing, but that's the point of training, and that's the point of getting in there, and that's the point of trying to work with as many people as possible, especially when you get to work with people you've worked with in the past, is that you can go out there. It's like, I think we were low on the card, like not first, but I don't think right before intermission. And but like, the crowd's already hot. We just got to keep them there. We need to just tell our story and go out there. And like, it's so easy compared to that first match. That first match was like, fuck.
Somehow I can see you doing that too, mentally, just in your head doing that. Man, I it's not that you missed anything or whatever, and I haven't seen the match, but I could just picture you going apeshit crazy. Now you're a trainer yourself, right?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I studied under so many different trainers. I really had my come up in Black Diamond. Head trainer there was Nikita Alanoff at the time, and then it went to Jake Garrett, and then after Jake Garrett, I took over.
And how many classes do you have underneath you, essentially, then?
Not that many. It, like, for the area that Black Diamond ran, it was really hard to get students. So, like, there were a lot of times, it's amazing, absolutely amazing, the phenomenon I could tell you. Whenever I would host a tryout class for people to come in, they say, I've got a passion. You want to see what I bring to the table to be a pro wrestler. Like, oh, you're going to what are you going to bring to the table? Car trouble. Every single time, everybody immediately, like 15 people, all had car trouble on the same day.
Shitty vehicles, man. Shitty vehicles, right?
I'm like, what the shit? Well, I honestly, like, I ran several classes, but like the amount of completed students that I've had, I can count on one hand.
Oh, that's a bummer. And again, that's not on you, because I'm sure
No.
you showed up for training. You were there.
I was there. Like we ran training. Um, but like yeah, and then a lot of them didn't even stay in that long, which is kind of sad also. So I don't actually have a whole lot of students for that, and I only can claim like half credit for at least two of them. So.
But when you see somebody, like, you've been in the business, Tao, and like I said, we're rounding, it's easier, for about 25 years. When you see somebody, do you know, like, in your workout, your pre-training, your sign-up day, and you're just going to blow them up or whatever, do you see, like, yeah, this kid has something?
Yes, I've seen, like, you know what? It's like it comes down to whether or not they can grasp these small details. It comes down to, like, if they can work hard, if they can show me that they can dig deep and, like, just come up with the energy to keep going. Like, for a tryout, like, if you're going to get through this, I guarantee you, if you can get through this, you're going to become a pro wrestler. Absolutely. But if you can get through this and you make it look easier, if you have like a little bit of, like, just that's something, it's not always there, but like if you see it and you'll be like, fuck, that's it. Fuck, that's it.
What do you think? I have a thought on this, but I want to hear your theory first, and I'll give you my thought. What do you think is the hardest thing for them to grasp right now? Like the youngsters.
It's a long road. Like, and it's a different business now than it was when I came in. And like, you have to set, like, what do you want to, and I actually started like conversations with people that said, I want to become a pro wrestler. It's my dream. And I said, well, is your dream to become a pro wrestler, or is your dream to wrestle for the WWE? And they said, my dream is to wrestle for the WWE. I said that you need to move to Florida and you need to go and join their school, because that's the way to get there. The other way, you can get there. I'm not saying you can't. It is a long road. And you have to decide, like, I just want to be a pro wrestler, I want to be part of the sport, or I want to be a millionaire on TV in front of thousands of people. And they're two totally different things. They're two totally different paths. I'm not saying that there isn't a cross path, and you can certainly work to get there, but it depends. You got to put in a lot. If you're coming to the middle of nowhere, West Virginia, to learn to wrestle, and that's your dream, is to go to WWE, it's a long way there.
Figuratively and literally. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I know guys. I've come up with guys that have gone, and it took them their whole damn career. Like, when I started, Corey Graves was 16 years old, wrestling in West Virginia. I did get to wrestle with him, but by the time he actually got down there, he did not have a very long career before he was just a commentator. And it's good for him, but if you had talked to him like 10 years ago, like, is that really where you would have seen yourself? I'm not sure he would have said yes, because I'm sure he went there specifically to be a wrestler.
Yeah. Yeah. Guys, you can check out Corey Graves' earlier stuff on the IWC network for only $9.99 a month. Justin Plummer, you owe me some money now. Just say, yeah, you can see his early stuff, and he's amazing. But you're right. He's probably kicked back happy as all hell, because he's the best. I love Corey on the mic. But that's not what he went to Florida for or WWE for. He wanted to have that career. And, sidetrack, injuries come apart. But yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
My thought on that whole question I asked you is storytelling. I think that's a lost art for youngsters. And I don't mean a storyline itself. I just meant storytelling in a match. Like, again, we were talking about Ricochet. Just doing stuff to do stuff doesn't explain what you're doing.
Right.
I loved, which we don't see a lot of, arm bars, wrist locks, the whole lock up collar and elbow. Then you can punch him in the face, and then you can do some cool stuff. Give me that slow burn. I don't need somebody jumping off the top rope the first move. You lost this 45-year-old man instantly.
I actually had that discussion with somebody, because years and years ago, and I was teaching a class, and the guy's like, all right, come out of the corner and overhead belly suplex. I'm like, whoa. That's the first thing you want to do, this really big spot, absolute first thing. And while I was coming out, one of this was that big up and over Ric Flair would do,
Oh, yeah. Over the top rope, yep.
That is an absolute big spot. You should only be doing that once, and you don't do that first thing. That's got to be the biggest thing you do. And but you're 20 seconds in and you're already throwing somebody all out. This isn't WrestleMania. We don't have a feud that's been building for it's the story of the match, the story of your character, it's the story of the promotion. It's all these stories, and you have to make it fit, but you have to make what works in the ring has to make sense. The first thing you do has to be why are you there? Why are you wrestling this other guy? Is it just a match? Is it just a skills thing, or is it just because you think you're better than everybody? It's and how do you get that across in your match? How do you make that work? How do you make anything believable when you're how do you say this guy did this, and this is absolutely the reason why, and now this is the reason that he can't win this match. There's no way he can win this match now until he pulls it out, and he does.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you because that we were born on the same thread, or made of the same cloth, or whatever the hell that saying is. I agree. If you're gonna do what you just said, that overhead belly to belly, somebody should die, literally die in that match then. Because that's the only way that it's believable that this happened. If you're going to start that big, a corner should be coming out, the Undertaker should be coming out and say, yep, he's dead, ship him to the back. How do you go below that then? Right?
Well, this is great. There was a promotion, I don't know if you ever heard of it, Vicious Outcast Wrestling.
I have.
Okay. Every single match was a hardcore match or a death match. And it's well, if that's your opening match, how where do you go from there? How much bigger does it have to go? At what point do we just start shooting each other in the ring? Because that's the most extreme thing you can do. You automatically went to the top, all right, this is what we're doing. Absolutely, everybody's going to die. I'm not saying that they didn't have good wrestlers. I'm not saying that they probably didn't have a good product. But it's a very specific crowd, and it was just I would read the results. I'm well, what the fuck are they going to do next show? How do you top that?
Yeah, I hear you. You brought that up. Are you a fan of deathmatch? Because there's times I can watch a match of it and be like, oh man, this is awesome. I don't know if I could do a whole show of it, because what you just said.
Not a whole show. I that is a very niche thing. like places out in Philly, and Philly is like one of the last places you can probably draw because Philly is just full of like bloodthirsty ogres. I swear,
Yep.
it's the only reason. Like when I got it, like ECW was hot, absolutely hot when I first got in. So of course everybody was looking to do hardcore, and everything they were doing was based off of a lot of the Japanese FMW stuff. So everybody's like, yeah, we want to do this, we want to do that, and there was a lot of it. There was a lot more than there is now, and of course, it naturally gravitated towards death matches. I have never been in a death match. I've never been booked for one. I don't know if I could do one. I've had my share of hardcore matches. I've been put through thumbtacks and tables and all that, but not specifically all the super gory stuff that
Light
is a
bulbs
death
and
match.
gusset plates and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know if I could do that. Like, I never tried. I don't know if I could. Like the Japanese stuff, I think really set the tone. And I don't know how people like do a whole show of it. And there are a lot of guys that go out there like Mike Law up in New York, like he has done so, and he's my boy. I respect him so much, and it's like, please don't let this boy get hurt.
Yeah.
Like he has such a pretty face. Please don't let him get hurt. And like, well, like it's hard to see some guys do that. And it's like, but like, I don't know, because I honestly don't know. Does it pay the bills better than anything else?
I don't know. With such a niche market, I can't imagine. I've not been paid by anybody like that, but I can't imagine. I really, ooh.
It's the only reason I can see to do that is because somebody's paying me a nice amount of money to do that, and then I'm going to go ice myself and get a tetanus shot, and I'll be all right for 3 months, and then I'll come back.
Pour Mercure Chrome all over yourself as well, right? Look up what that
it's
is,
all
kids.
stinging anyway.
Right? I didn't ask you this. I kind of went off kilter a little bit. Tell us who the Highlander is. Like, who, when you were coming up with everything, who did you take and said, yes, yes, yes? I see Piper in you, without a doubt. I see Piper in you.
See, everybody says Piper because it's so easy because of the kilt. But I'm actually not. I don't take any inspiration from Piper, actually. Like it was a bit more of like I was a big Dean Malenko fan. I like love Dean Malenko. Like his work in WCW, I could watch him all day and night. Like I really enjoyed a Dean Malenko match.
Yeah.
Dean Malenko, early Chris Jericho, like that's where I go back to like the WCW Cruiserweight, because that's actually where I saw myself as far as that was like, fuck these guys, doing shit like that. Like that's really where I see myself. And when I first started, a lot of the stuff I did was a good bit of that. Like one of my holds is a hold you don't really see that much, is a short leg scissor.
Yes. Yeah, you don't see it at all. I don't know where you said a little bit. I haven't seen that in ever, honestly.
I mean, like when I first started training, one of the things was a short leg arm lock, and that was a thing that we would do as part of like a training thing. But like, I don't remember the last time I was like working out with guys or watching guys get trained. Like, I don't remember seeing anybody do that anymore at all. And I think like the one time I seen it on TV, I think I seen like Paul White try it once, and he fucked it up a little bit. He didn't get the arm in the right spot, but it didn't matter anyway because his leg was so big.
Right, it just blocked it.
Yeah, it was like, all right, it kind of works. I'm like, fuck, like I don't remember the last time I seen anybody do something like that. But like the man of 1,000 holds, your list of 1,000 moves, armbar,
right?
Like, but like stuff like that, like fuck, that really drove me. Like I really wanted to do stuff like that, and early on, I was so much more athletic, and that really drove the next character that I went into,
Which was, go ahead.
the Blue Dragon.
Yeah. And you kind of incorporated these moves as well, right?
I got more suplex heavy. That was partial to guy I was working out at the time, Nikita Alanoff, a lot of Taz influence, especially since he wasn't even wrestling anymore. He one time the human suplex machine, and like, all this big badness that just kind of like disappeared, and it was like a void. It's like, fuck, I need to throw in a whole lot of that. So like, yeah, I started doing a whole lot of stuff like that, and started doing stuff like one of my moves was a flipping leg drop off the top rope. But the joke was I would always miss it.
Oh, that was your air quotes spot then, yeah.
Yeah. Until one time I actually did get to hit it. And I don't even remember which time that was. I only remember one time I did hit it.
Please tell me you won with that then, at least, right?
I do not remember. And there's not a whole lot of stuff that I have that's even survives on video.
That's a bummer.
It really is.
It really is, because that's the technical matches that we as older guys come to love, and I could see you doing all that. Man, damn video, because it was all VHS back then. It was all VHS.
Yeah, like DVDs were like brand new, and there might even be
a couple. They cost $1 million too back then.
Yeah, they did.
So, tell us about some of your memorable things then that happened in the ring that you champion yourself with. You 25 years in this business. Gloat a little bit.
All right. Number one is that I am the longest reigning heavyweight champion in modern wrestling history. Or I was. I won the Three Rivers Wrestling heavyweight belt in 2001, and I just lost that belt last year.
Holy shit. 21 years. Well, 20 years then, right?
20 years.
20 years.
Yes.
Can I be this guy and ask you if you were defending it like Brock Lesnar or Roman Reigns, or were you defending it like Ric Flair or Dusty Rhodes?
More like Ric Flair or Dusty Rhodes. So, like, we had the last show in, like, 2001, and we didn't have another show until 2021.
Okay. Still, nobody took it off of you. Somebody could have come to a Kmart and tried beating you, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've thrown it out there before. I've only held 3 heavyweight titles in my career. The Underground heavyweight title, and that was incorporated into the NWA East.
Yep.
I had to give up that title to get a title shot, and I didn't win that title shot. And then the RCCW title, which was, I won that one show, and then they never ran ever again.
Well, you're still champ there then.
Yes, I am. And that's been about 10 years.
Look at that. Do you have these titles? Or are they ones that you made?
Actually, I have the original 3RW heavyweight title, and then I had a brand new title made up for when we started doing shows again last year. And then after I lost that title, I had another one made up just so I could still have one on my wall.
Do you have those hangers that hang straight up and down? As you can tell, I'm slowly getting into belts.
They're there.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Again, I'm slowly getting into belts. I have 2 right now, the ECW one, because I was at ECW, not of the wrestling. I have Taz's. And then I got don't ask why I got this one next, but I did the WCW Tag Team Champions, NWA, like it was the mixed one that the Rock and Roll Express had. This. Yeah. My all-time favorite belt, though, after you make the Can Crusher one, my next then, favorite title of all time is the NWA TV title in red. Communications is linked to it, and that's all me. Plus, I'm a huge Arn Anderson fan, so...
I actually have a version of that I've done on red leather. That Instagram also. It's my own design, but it looks a lot like that television belt. And I was asked to do it on the red leather. And actually, I did do one of those for PWX as a television title for them one time. They did not hold on to that belt long enough.
Damn them. Damn them. They should have.
I made a lot of belts. I made like an X Division title for them back when the X Division was a brand new thing. And they only held that belt for like 3 shows and dropped it.
Where do belts end up then? Like,
I have
purgatory?
no idea.
They just sell them
some get
off?
recycled, and some got turned into other things. Like the PWX title for a while was a ECW belt that I was asked to remake.
Wow. Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. All right, so we heard about some of your memorable stuff. To wrap it back around, we love hearing embarrassing things. What are some of your things you're like, oh shit, I don't believe I did that in front of a huge crowd?
All right, here's the most embarrassing thing I have. The most embarrassing. Because I didn't mean for it to be embarrassing. All right. So this was about 10 years or so ago. All right. Ring of Honor sends out things that they're going to do a training camp. And like, fuck, this would be great to get my career jump started, just like, take me a couple steps ahead, to go do this training camp at Ring of Honor. And it's out of Philly, and it's the middle of winter. And I go there, and I'm expecting a training camp. And the first thing, so I'm like, I meet up at their facility in Philly, or just outside of Philly, and they're like, we need everyone to get into gear. I'm like, gear? And they're actually filming this. It's a documentary, and they're following Joaquin Wilde around back when he was Shima Zion.
Yep, DJZ, yeah.
Yeah. It was him and this other guy, Danny Inferno, something. I can't remember the other guy. They were doing a whole bunch of things, but they were like following these guys around. I'm like, oh, now we're part of a documentary. Like, I didn't know that I didn't sign up for this at all. So it was Delirious running that. Jim Cornette's there. Jerry Lynn's there. Terry Silkin's there. Everybody's there. It's a big deal because they're making this documentary. And like, I thought I was just, doing a tryout sort of thing, workout camp, see if I can learn some things. So I have to get into gear, and I'm looking in my bag, and I'm like, I only have 2 things. I can be Highlander, I can be Blue Dragon. I said, who do I want to be going out from here? And I'm like, fuck, I guess I'll be Blue Dragon. But like, one of the things to know is that I kept this very, very secret. So like, whenever I was Blue Dragon, I would dye my beard and I would wear a wig. So you couldn't tell that I had bright fucking red hair.
Right.
Well, I didn't do that. So they go and have us cut promos first thing with Silken and Cornette. And I cut this promo, and this is what actually made it into the edited version that showed up on television, is Jim Cornette looking at me and goes, "You have a red beard." And I'm just like, fuck, yeah, basically. And that blew up on social media. It's like Blue Dragon with red beard. And as much as I tried, like that, I did get one fucking booking over the whole thing. But like for the whole time, I'm like, fuck. That's all anybody's going to remember me as is Blue Dragon with a red beard.
In hindsight, should have been the Highlander.
I probably should have been the Highlander for a couple of reasons. One, I wouldn't have had to go through that. 2, I actually split my pants in the ring while I was wrestling. Not that anybody noticed, but like, fuck, the guy I was wrestling, like, he was giving me nothing. Like, we're both there, like, he's giving me nothing. I'm like, oh my gosh. Of anything I could say, a Cornette at least he said I had really excellent suplexes for a guy my size.
That was actually my next question. You brought up Cornette a lot. How much interaction did you have with Cornette around ROH or any time like you ran into him?
Like that was the only time I ever got to deal with Cornette, and I dealt with him for a good bit. There were a lot of Pittsburgh guys out there for that, so it was like me, Chris Russo, the other guy who was there, Chris Marks, and of course Shima. And this was like he did the tryout for Ring of Honor, but then he ended up signing with TNA a couple months later. So
yeah, TNA Impact or whatever. So
yeah,
that's not horribly embarrassing unless it's made into a meme. Did anybody make that into a meme yet? Have you seen it?
I don't think anybody ever made it into a meme. I think it ended up on a couple wrestling forums that I heard about, but like nothing more than that. I'm sure probably was like for me it was like totally embarrassing. I'm like it's like fuck. I could have done something. I could have done something else. Like that it was just it's just so embarrassing for what it was. And it only would have felt better if I had actually gotten a booking. Like we've seen you on TV. When do we book you for a show?
Yeah, and we're gonna use that same spot. You're the blue dragon with a red beard.
I said, well, at the time, they still had El Generico there, which was a masked guy with a red beard. I'm like, oh, so you can't have two in the same company, I guess.
Yeah. Good old Sammy. I know we touched on this a little bit. What have you seen that has really changed from the time you started until now in professional wrestling as a whole? And then to piggyback that, what still needs to change in professional wrestling? Because there's still some nasty stigmas that just linger with this sport because there's still some dirtbags around.
Oh, there's a ton of dirtbags. Well, I would say a couple things. Like when I first started, there was WCW, ECW, WWF. All right. And it was a great time when I started, but that ended pretty quickly early on. And what happened was you had guys that were like, oh, absolutely, this guy's going to be on Saturday night. These guys are going to be doing jobs. These guys are going to be going up and down the country. These guys are absolutely going to get signed with WCW, and do a couple things. And then that all just dried up because you had only WWE, and they only needed 80 guys tops. If they needed somebody, they had all the top talent to pick from. They ran their invasion angle, and it's like you had guys. It's like these were the next up and comers, and now they couldn't get $10 on an indie show. Like they absolutely like the price for a guy just tanked, and it was a bottom of the barrel economy to be a pro wrestler and try to make money and do stuff, and you had to like work twice as hard. You either had to dig down deep to travel, and to this day, there's still a lot of guys that do not travel enough. Mostly because it costs a lot, especially gas right now and everything, and promoters don't really like to pay a lot for that. They think of it, as like a package deal. I'm bringing you in for this amount, regardless of what that is. Usually it's not, I'm bringing you in for this and travel. So it makes it hard for that. And it's come around a lot more recently, especially in, I'd say, the past 7 years. I'll go back as far as 7 years, where more opportunities have come with like AEW. NXT's finally gotten to a good spot. Impact is in a new place. Ring of Honor is in a better place. GCW was a thing for like half a minute. I'm not even sure if they're still in anymore or not, but at least they were something for a hot minute to also take other guys. Like it started to free up some of that availability. Like there is room in this market for like everybody. And it's starting to come back because now I see a lot of good Pittsburgh guys that are getting the shots and getting opportunities like that did not exist for us back then because all that had dried up. I'm like, absolutely, guys are getting an opportunity to travel and get their names out there and do stuff. But it takes guys, just getting out there. There's a couple guys. Like I see one guy really working on his look. Like you look fantastic now. It's like you've been working on your stuff. Like I've wrestled you a couple times, but you don't go anywhere. You work for the same few places that like. All right, they're good for money, but like, is that what you want to do, or you want to like you could do something more if you get out there and do something more?
Yeah, I've talked to some legends that they essentially it's called them weekend warriors. Then they want to be wrestlers, but just on weekends. They don't want to leave that maybe 200 miles or so.
I mean, it got difficult for a while because like I got a full-time job, and I have time, like I'm trying to like get back into doing a whole lot more now. But there was a time where it's like really, really hard to like do anything, and it wasn't as much my fault as it was just the state of things that they were. It was like I would travel. Like there was a show out in like fucking Bowling Green, Ohio, which was the middle of fuck nowhere.
Nowhere, yeah. I've been through it, yeah.
It was like they had a really nice place. It was like this mall or a convention area, but they only like sold like 5 tickets. I swear, it was this huge place, and it was like fuck. I don't think I ever went back there again. It was just like, oh my gosh, and there were probably like 40 wrestlers backstage. Like nobody's getting paid here.
Yeah,
actually,
it was that hot dog and handshake.
Oh, that it shows like that is working. Actually, I think this is the same show that Glenn was telling his story about.
Oh, that one that was in a storefront. Okay. So if you don't know that story, head back over to Glenn's part 2 and listen to that shit show.
I could be wrong, but like he was on the same show as I was, and like I was like, fuck, like we all like I don't. There are a lot of Pittsburgh guys. Like, they all made the trip out there. But like nobody here is getting paid, man. I don't know about this. Like, but early on, like before that happened, it was easy to travel. I was going to New Jersey. I was going down to North Carolina every weekend to wrestle. Like I was traveling. It was so easy before everything dried up. It was the kind of thing like if you were traveling and you were wrestling in the South and you were coming from the North, you had to pull in, like so you could just pull out so your license plate wasn't showing, because if they saw a Pennsylvania license plate and you were there working heel, they were probably going to come after you after the show.
For sure. Went down to a Spartanburg, South Carolina one time for a show with my buddy. And yeah, like we thought we were crazy. No, those people will kill you if you screw them over. Yeah.
It's amazing. Like I could do these 5 spots up here in PA. All right. Does good. I go down south. Fucking yeah. That's what I'm fucking talking about. Like it's night and day. And it's like it made me really love going down to the South tour because it was such an ego boost. It was so easy to get over down there, especially being from the North and being a heel. It was just so easy to get over on these Southerners.
Nice.
And I'm like, but like after that, it was like, yeah, we're like. But now, now I encourage anybody like throw stuff out. I know a lot of states ask you to get licensed and all that. Look into it. If there are opportunities, absolutely. Like now is the optimum time to be looking for opportunities because it's starting to get not just starting, but like it's been getting hot for a while, and this is the time. Like you could be the next breakout thing. They just haven't heard of you because you've been staying up here, working for these little places. And I know the internet is big. The internet is huge, and sometimes it's hard to find what you're looking for. But sometimes all you need is that one little thing to just like step out and stand out to actually be seen. And like that could be all it takes to set you on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And before you know it, you are now living and working as a pro wrestler. Isn't that the dream?
Yeah, it really is. AEW Dark and Dark Elevation, I think, are the greatest things for indie stars right now. I love it. It's on YouTube, but Christ, everybody has YouTube. Watch it. Everybody watches it. You find people. You know that they're the next thing if you just watch enough, and it's on the kids too. And I say it nicely. You have to market yourself. Cool. You were on AEW. Well, your next show, you should tell that promoter, I was just on Dark. I want to, without being boastful or brashful or anything like that, promote me that way, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's amazing that like the social media, exists. That like when I was coming up, like we had business cards, like actual paper business cards that we would hand out for like bookings and that, because that was the only way. And you give them a couple more hours, like here, pass these around. If you want to book me, here you go. Because maybe they might see some tapes, maybe they won't. I actually had a guy in New Jersey. He's seen a tape. I don't even know where he got it from. He's seen a tape and he's like, "Fuck, I need you to come out here. I need you to do the show. You did this spot that was fucking fantastic. I got a guy I need you to work, and you absolutely have to do this spot." And then he books a building with a low ceiling where I absolutely cannot fucking do the spot.
Again, this is why I love talking to you guys, because you find out shit like that.
I mean, like it was like he's like, "I don't know if you can do this. This is why I brought you in, but like it'd be really great if you can, but if you can't, yeah, I fucking understand." I'm like, oh, I mean, there are a couple times I've been booked for some like just stuff. I'll tell you what, like there was one show where the crowd, I don't know why. I don't know any of the details, but I hear the crowd was chanting my name at some show when I was Blue Dragon. So, like, they're calling for Blue Dragon. So the promoter gets a hold of me. He's like, I need to bring in Blue Dragon for the next show. It's like, oh, you need to bring in Blue Dragon for the next show. Oh, well, then you're going to pay. Blue Dragon needs to be on the next show money. I was like, all right. So we settle up, and he brings me in. I get there, and he's like, I don't know who you're wrestling.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, you didn't have a plan? Like, nah, we're gonna figure something out. So like, I ended up wrestling a guy in a chicken suit.
You're effing kidding me.
No
fucking way.
So guy in the chicken suit, which we had a great match because I know who it is. And I'm not even gonna say who was in the chicken suit because I don't know if he wants to be known like that. But the Blue Dragon's finisher was a belly to belly suplex. And what I did was I grabbed a hamburger bun out of the back. I put the bottom half of the bun in the center of the ring. I picked up the chicken. I bellied him onto it. I put the top half on top of him, put the fork in it, and pinned him like that as a chicken sandwich.
Shout out to whoever did that. If you're listening to this, kudos to you. I don't need to know a name, but Blue Dragon against Bob Smith or, somebody big to bring it because you had to be there. And then you do the chicken suit or you do this. Essentially, that's where I got back to things that still need to change in professional wrestling. What do you think are like your top couple that just really need to chip up?
Number one, like, look, you have to be able to say like, it was a different time back then, but that doesn't excuse a lot of stuff. Like, you need to be better people, like absolutely better people. And maybe we don't work for shitbag promoters. There's a lot of shitbag promoters. There's one guy still running shows. He's a registered sex offender, and people work for him. I mean, there are a lot of registered sex offenders, and people work them like and like you have to decide, like, are you going to be the guy that works for them? Are you going to be the guy that uh, works for guys that like screw the boys? Or are you going to be a guy that works for a guy because he has a vanity project because he did something that made him look bad. And now he needs to run a wrestling show so he can get like, hey, see, I'm not a creep after all. Look what I did to help all these people, even though it didn't actually help anybody at all except him.
Yeah. This is Mark speaking. They can all fucking die in hell because I have no time for anybody register sex offenders, nothing like that. So kudos to you for bringing that out. Thank you for being honest. A lot of people don't or will tiptoe around that. So thank you, Michael, as a human being, for saying that. So yes. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. That was my...
No, because like the internet is forever and people need to realize that. And you have to say, like, look, I may have said some things earlier. I am more informed now and I've changed my stance. We can move on. We can be better people. We can, but you actually have to back it up and show that you are, in fact, being a better person. You have to show that, like, hey, I'm not the piece of shit that people thought I was 20 years ago. It needs to be both people being better and people calling people out for, not being great. And like, because there are a lot of guys that like the weekend warrior sort of thing. Like, I'll work for this shit promoter because he lets me wrestle every week or every weekend, and I can go there wherever. It's like, yeah, but what are you getting out of this? Like if that's all you're doing and it's just for you, that's fine. But like, I get the vibe from you that that's not what you want, because there are a lot of guys that just like they may not say it, but like they absolutely want to do more or be more, but they can't get themselves out of working for shit promoters. And it's like, like, look at who you're working with. Like, if you work with the same 5 guys in 3 different promotions and you're not moving past that, like, you're not getting any actual experience. You're just wrestling the same 5 guys. Now, if that's all you want, that's fine, but don't think that like you're actually like improving or like adding something to the business. And like right now is a great time to like actually be adding something to the business. And that's one of the things I like when I was training, was to actually be giving back to a lot of people. Like, I'll go to like other people who are training, and a lot of times I only offer like my insight, or I can be like a training dummy, because like a new student isn't going to know, like, am I going to jump this way? I'm going to post this way. I'm going to do this. Like, here, let me take this for you. See what he does. See what I do. It's like the best way of being an example in all things is see what I do, see what, like, this is what we need to do to make you better and us better. And there needs to be a lot more of that in all things, because this is one of the best things we have. And I absolutely believe, that for what it is, pro wrestling is unique amongst a lot of things. And we can't take for granted the idea that if enough bad shit happens, they will take it away because of a few rotten apples that wanted to have it their way. Like, we can't let them take it away. And all it takes is just somebody having the courage to just stand up and say, no, or we need to talk about this, or, like, let's just look at this from another angle because this doesn't make sense to me. Like, there is all kinds of opportunity for so many people to do more and be more. And sometimes some people need some help, and maybe you can be the help, some people just need a little guidance.
Yeah, wrapping that all up, essentially paying it forward is huge, and I believe that is like your mantra right now. 25 years in the business, you want to be there. You want to do your thing too, kind of like Glenn, as well, Glenn Spector. Have some matches, but help.
He is a great guy. He is such, like, when he came back, and I've seen him firsthand, like, transform, is such an inspiration to see. Like, that's kind of like where I'm coming from, because, like, fuck, he's so inspiring. Like, I remember when he was younger and, like, doing the Wonder Man thing, like, his moveset was exactly what he was very technical, very wrestling science oriented. Like, fuck, that was that Dean Malenko stuff. Those like everything had purpose. It was full on storytelling with like just hold and stuff like that. Like, I'm like, fuck yes. And now he's like back in, and he's like really like, this is the inspirational stuff we need to showcase more and tell people, like, look, this is what's going on. This guy is making it happen. Like, fuck yeah. Like, you can watch him, and I absolutely support him and everybody else. Like, fuck yeah, watch this. But you know what? He makes me want to do more and be better also.
Yeah. And that's, you put it perfectly. That's the way to encompass this, that do better, help others, have your inspiration, and then turn that around to be an inspiration for the youngsters in the locker room. So they get that whole mentality of, all right, I'm going to do my shit for 25 years, but when and I'm not saying on your back burner or anything, but when I'm going, down on the other side, I need to give back. That needs to be taught instead of, all right, Bob Smith again, and I've been using this fake name for months now.
No, I actually knew a Bob Smith. It was
Of
back to
course you
Bob
did.
Smith. He had the best fucking ring, because after he died, the kids wouldn't do anything with it. Now that ring's shit. But yeah, I knew backup Bob Smith.
Okay, I didn't know Bob Smith, but I'm gonna have to change this fake person's name now. But Bob Smith has taught me this is what you do in wrestling. This is the whole family mantra. This is what you do. I'm just not going to come in and be, I'm number one, fuck everybody before and after me. I don't like that guy. I don't. And I've seen people like that in Pittsburgh. And I won't name names.
I knew a guy, and I think it was his dad that drove him. There was a guy, I don't know if you've ever seen the memes for the Dream Machine.
Yes.
Oh my god, his dad probably like drove him for a lot of stuff, but like, oh my gosh, like he could have been good, but his ego was fueled and heavy, and like, oh no.
Yep.
But no, wouldn't listen to anybody. There are a lot of guys like, I don't need to listen because I'm doing my own thing and I'm getting over. Like, are you though?
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. I've been around, and I'm not saying I'm in professional wrestling. I'm maybe a cousin with this podcast for the last 5 years, but like, I've seen stuff over my 45 years. I've learned not the ins and outs or anything like that. I don't want to even pat myself on the back. But if you're around something for that long, you understand a little bit. And you're like looking at it, I'm like, nah, you rubbed this guy the wrong way. And I don't like it. So, yeah. All right, so let's kind of shift gears a little bit, back to you. So you've been in wrestling for 25 years, and we kind of talked about your goals, tiptoed around them. You want to get back in, you want to have matches, you want to help kids. What else? What else do you want to do kind of to roll with this punches? Is this podcast like you're announcing that you're coming back?
Well, like, I haven't really, like, my last match was last November. That was 3RW. And my wrestling has been like really far in between, mostly because my day job. Like, I switched careers about 4 years ago.
Damn work. I understand. Damn work. Go ahead.
my ex-wife talked me into doing this because it's a fuck ton of money. Like you can't even imagine. It's a fuck ton of money. So now it's like, great. Now I have money to do shit, and now I spend money on stupid shit. Is more of the thing. Because now I have fuck you. I got stupid fuck money. The best thing I do with my money is that whenever my friends, especially wrestlers, they say, "Hey, I'm doing this, I'm doing that," like I will support you. Glenn Spector has a store. I go to his store. Robert Parker Williams puts out a book. I buy his book. A friend's got a T-shirt. I buy their T-shirt. And anything to help the guys out. Otherwise, I'm like in my studio doing stuff, and for the longest time, it's been like, fuck, I make more money in the studio than I ever did wrestling.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm still like part of wrestling because I was doing the belts, but I also did television for a while also. I started out in television when I first got out of school, and that was part of the thing that got me like, this is great, because my producer actually did my first taped my first wrestling match, because he said pro wrestling is one of the best things for television. It really is.
It really
and
is.
he really got that back then. So he did a whole he taped that for me. But I also kept in television. And one of the things I did was probably about, gosh, was that 9 or 10 years ago? It's so hard to keep track of stuff over such a long time since it's been happening. But I actually started streaming Black Diamond shows
Okay.
from remote locations. I got like one of those internet hotspots back before you could have it on your phone. You actually had to like get a full device.
Yep.
It would plug into your laptop. And I was actually streaming live television. I was doing enough live television with them that it was me and the WWE were the only ones doing that much live wrestling television per month.
That's crazy. Why have we not met? Because we're nerds, and that's essentially like I like to do, and communications is my thing. I love being behind this part. So that's kind of like, you said that you kind of give back to wrestling that way, and you buy shirts and you buy stuff, and that's kind of where I am with this, with the indie stars and everything. They're always welcome on. I want, you want to cut a promo, you want this, you want that, you got this. Come on. That's my big thing. I'm like, Mike's always open for anybody to come on and chit chat to get you over or whatever. Yes. Damn you. We should have met in 97.
I mean, like, if anybody else was doing anything, I never heard, but I try to keep my my hands in a lot of baskets, because like I can do so much. So I did a lot of that stuff, and like I never got paid for like any of it, because I went out there to like get exposure and get people like to notice this stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, I want more people to see this. And we were doing great numbers. It just wasn't sustainable for the long run. But like, as far as like I do want to do more wrestling. I like, absolutely. I'm trying to get like back into shape in between working, and I absolutely want to have like one. I don't know if I want to do one good run, but I at least want to be there. Like, hey, you're absolutely the guy we need for this. We got a guy we need put over big in some way. Like, yeah, I'm there for you, dude. I'm always a guy that's like there to help. Uh, sometimes that can bite you, but I like helping. I don't know what it is. There's so many good guys that I've met throughout the years in wrestling. That's like, fuck yeah, brother, I got you. I'll be there. It's just a happy happening thing. Fuck. I just love to do it.
Do you ever think of your own promotion?
Yes. But I don't know that I would stay. I'll let you in on a big secret of something I've been working on.
Well, wait a minute. Wait, whoa. I do you want this on?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Because nobody else could do this.
Okay.
I guarantee you nobody else could do this because nobody else has the idea, the funding, the money. Well, unless they got somebody that's like has more fuck you money than I got.
Okay.
Do you recall Ken Shamrock and Owen Hart and Dan the Beast Severn when they were in WWE and they had the Lions Den match?
Yes.
I want to do shows, but I want the ring to be a modified version of the Lions Den.
Yes. Sign me up. Yes. That would be cool. It's
something that is more not specifically MMA, but something that's like it's a cage match, but I definitely need to figure out some way of incorporating ring ropes into it because it needs to. So sort of something more like a 6-sided ring, but like something like that because they had a lot of imagination in those matches, and I'm like, fuck, that would be different.
Yeah, it really would. Speaking of 6-sided ring, I love Impact. There's a lot of people on there that like Impact, and even going back to TNA and everything. Man, they really screwed the pooch when they got rid of the 6-sided ring. That's what made them different.
That is what made them different, and I've heard that that ring was great for cruiserweights because the ropes were a lot tighter than you could get with a 4-sided ring, so it was easier to do stuff off the ropes.
Yeah.
Like I never got to work in a 6-sided ring. I know High Spots sold them for a limited time. I don't know if they still do, but a 6-sided ring just, it's different. It was different enough at the time that they could get away with it and not be gimmicky because they kept it, and the fact that nobody else has really done it since also keeps it as like kind of their own thing, but it offered up a lot of different things because before that, like they came up with like the Ultimate X match.
That was
there you go,
tits and ass right there. I agree. I'm sorry. That's smart. That's the best thing. I love the Ultimate X match.
But it was exciting. It was new. It was different. But you could only really get that out of a 6-sided ring. Like, well, you could do that with a 4-sided. Like, yeah, you could, but like, you know what? The 6-sided ring really sold that, especially for the guys that were there at the time doing that. Like, it was really something different, and you could do a lot more with that. And it is a shame to see nobody really does a 6-sided ring as much. Or at all.
At all. Yeah, at all. I want to ask this. We can continue a little bit longer if you're okay with it, but I want to know if you could reverse time and when you're, prime of whoever you're going to pick, who would be your dream match? And I want to know who, where, and what stipulation.
In my prime dream match, what stipulation? There are a lot of guys that, even though I've been around, like I've worked with like a lot of guys, but I haven't been I never had like a match with them, which is like I always wanted a match like local guy. Like I don't know if I could do anything outside of like local guys because that's beyond like my ego for that. But like I always go back to like a lot of local guys. So like Chris Taylor, like there's a guy that I would love to like. For whatever happened, we never had a match together in all our years. Like I always wanted a match with Chris Taylor or Brandon Kay, something like that. And it didn't even need to be like any kind of big stipulation match. Just like there are a lot of guys that I just wanted to wrestle in front of a crowd for no other reason than I wanted to wrestle this guy in front of a crowd.
I really thought you were gonna go Dean Malenko right there for the big one. I did because that was the low hanging cheese just right there. But
well,
no,
it could have been, but like that is like like I don't know, like like it, it's one of those things like on the lines of like you shouldn't meet your heroes sort of thing.
Yeah.
Uh, but like I love his stuff when I see him wrestle everybody else. I can't imagine having a good match with him like that. Like even for them, like I'm prepared for it now. I know I absolutely could do a match, but like I don't see myself in Dean Malenko. I don't know why. I see myself as more like these local legends, like guys like fuck yeah, we could really tear down a house if you and I went did a match together, and I was like, fuck yeah.
I love that because that means more than you saying Dean Malenko, because you're humble. You're okay with it. You and Brandon Kay going at it. That's cool. I like that you didn't take that cheese and just run with it, because that means more. That, if anything, folks, just listening to this and you're along with the ride, that Michael was honest. Thank you. Like, a lot of people just give you the easy answer. Yeah, that put a smile on my face.
There are like a lot of things. Like I have been in the ring with like a lot of guys, but I haven't been in a match with guys. Like IWC for the longest time. I trained at IWC, not during while I was training, but like in like 2004, 2005. I was out for a couple of years. I was trying to get back in. I was trying to get a spot in IWC. I only ever actually worked one IWC show. But IWC had a thing where they would bring in like Japanese guys all the time.
Yep.
So, and a couple of them didn't speak English. So like there was like one guy named Kato, and like I had a match, working out, you know, I got to work Japanese guys just because they were there to work out. Like, fuck. Like, that was fucking awesome. Like, him and I had like a handstand competition. See who could hold a handstand the longest. Just fun shit in the ring, doing shit like that. Like that meant a lot more to me than actually just having a match with them.
It's behind the scenes stuff, and thank you for sharing that, because that you would never know that. Like that's at the training center. That's never going to be publicized or anything like that, and that's one of your fondest memories. That's cool.
Yeah, there's probably a ton of things that like behind the scenes that are thinking, like if you never knew, you'd never even consider that something like that would ever happen. Like, there are a ton of people over 25 years that like I've gone through and I've been with, and people that aren't in anymore, and people that are gone, and like you really miss some of them sometimes, and you maybe you didn't even have a match with them, but you were still training together. You worked with them or you hung out with them, and gosh, back when cameras only had film, so you didn't even take that many pictures back then. And now I still don't take enough pictures, and you miss a lot of opportunities, and there's just so many different opportunities, but there's so many opportunities just being there in the moment with some people and thinking maybe it doesn't need to be any better than this. Maybe this is exactly what it needs to be. Just because this is what you're going to remember 10 years from now. You're not going to remember, the 15-minute match you had in front of 300 people and they gave you like a fuck ton of money and you went out afterwards and you got absolutely smashed. But maybe you were stone sober in a garage in a ring with 15 other guys, and that was actually the best time.
That springs two questions again. One, I'm probably the same way as you. I want to live the moment. I would love to have a personal assistant to take pictures for me so I can go back, but I don't want to be the guy holding the phone up. And that's kind of my downfall, that I should have more pictures at IWC, this, that, or the other thing, but they're embedded in your head. So that, for a while, I mean, I have concussions from football and baseball that my wife has already told me that she's going to be pushing me around in a couple years with pills, because I forget anniversaries, wedding, everything guys forget. Yeah. But I understand that. So I think that we're on the same link there, that you're just in the moment that you don't want to say, hey, let me get a picture of this. And the other one I forgot. See? There you go. I talked it out of myself.
I do got some pictures of from some training sessions and that where I was like taking some candid pictures, like of guys. It's like you can see where they are in like 5 to 10 years. But yeah, like I do get like injuries get you. I actually was on one show, PWX, back. I think it's a point of pride for what it was when it was. I got to wrestle at PWX back when they were in the Eastland Mall, and that was a big thing back when that was a thing.
Yes,
but I was wrestling Kingdom James, and he came off with his moonsault, and he ended up putting his knee into the back of my head, and I didn't know who I was for 2 days.
Been there. Baseball to the face. Yeah, baseball to the face. Maybe that's why I'm not a wrestler too.
I mean, and then I had surgery. That was sometime about 10 or 12 years ago. I now have a metal plate in my neck.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. And it was one of those, it was right. Oh, that was the other thing. Right before I went to the Ring of Honor training, I was working out hard. I was determined. I was focused, laser fucking focused. I was in the gym every day, and I had never been on a routine like that before. And I was like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna kill this. And I'm on the treadmill, and I'm like burning. I'm like, fuck yeah. And something just snapped in my neck, and I'm like, oh. And like I was on my back for like 2 weeks. I'm like, fuck. So like I worked out a little bit. It was like it's killing me. Like my shoulder is just like terrible. Like my right arm, it's like I can't move it past here, and I can't do this, and I can't do that. But if I get in the ring, I can work out, and I can do fine. I can lift people. Like, all right, I'm fine. Like I can do this. I just can't just like sit here. So like the whole time, like I drive out to Philly, I got my arm up over my head because that's the only way that it was comfortable.
Oh,
and I got the doctor telling me that like, oh, a little physical therapy will be fine. So after I do Ring of Honor, I get back and like, physical therapy hasn't worked. We should get an X-ray. And they do an X-ray. I was like, that X-ray didn't look good. We need a CT scan. So they do a CT scan. Like, yeah, your neck is cracked. Like, we need to go in there and repair it, and you're gonna need like a plate put in between your discs. I'm like, fuck.
You did ROH with a broken freaking neck. You and Kurt Angle, right?
Yes.
Oh shit.
But I didn't even know it, and that was like the problem with like kind of like the problem with the doctor at the time, because he's like, oh no, you're just working too hard. You just need a little physical therapy. He's like, no, your neck is fucking cracked. Like, fuck.
To wrap it all back around, can you look back at yourself, two-part question again, and say to the little kid, holy shit, you made it. And then not final, but what has wrestling brought to your life? So there's that package right there.
Well, number one, when I was a kid, I wasn't allowed to do it. I was a sick kid. Like I could not do anything. I wasn't allowed to do anything. So the idea that I would ever actually be wrestling, let alone ever wrestle on TV or do anything, was beyond me. And I think younger me would probably be really astounded with everything that I've happened to accomplish.
Okay.
And wrestling has really given me something interesting. Like, and it's almost hard to verbalize because there is some. and I will bring a Piper. Piper called it the sickness, where you can't imagine anything else past wrestling. And that's really what it was. There have been times where I didn't know what else I had, but I at least had wrestling. And it's one of those things like it will be the one thing that I keep going back to because it's the one thing I know I can do best. Probably better than some, not better than all, or better than most, or at least better for me. I know that there is something that pro wrestling has given me that I can't define, and that's probably half the reason why I like to give a little bit back.
Understand, and that's great. I can see, I can hear it in your heart. I know I can't physically see you right now, but I can hear it in your words that it is your, and it will be your passion until, and then just as you said, to give it back. And that's kind of what we've been talking about the whole time, about giving it back. And that's cool, because 25 years in the business, wrestling owes you nothing. I've always heard that talking to people, but you don't owe anything to it either. But you're going to go up above and beyond to give it back. Thank you. Because that means a lot to future wrestlers that should be listening to this right now to understand all of that.
I've really seen it, especially in those that I've trained with, both where I was a trainer or I was working with them. Like there are some things that like experience will teach it and time will teach it, sometimes not together, but like when it does, it really is magic. It's that magical thing that you want. It's that thing that you remember. It's that looking back filter, like remember this and how great it was. It was Saturday morning. It was wrestling, it was chocolate milk, and it was all that, and it was a magical time that can never be recaptured again. This is sort of that. And this is the essence that can be recaptured.
Yeah. I wholeheartedly believe this question is never written down, but it just popped in my head. Do you think wrestling should go back to territories then?
I don't know if all wrestling can or should, but there absolutely is a place for it.
Yeah.
I think somebody's going to see something. Somebody's going to have the imagination. Someone's going to be able to look at it and go, we have this, we have this. We absolutely could do this. And maybe that's great. And actually, we were having a discussion the other day about, I would love to see WCW brought back in some capacity, even if all WCW was just house shows, and that's all they did. Like something like that, where somebody would take something and like, let's just try this again, but in a slightly different way, and let's see if this will actually work. And I think the territories, it could work. In fact, for a lot of indie guys, and I was talking about traveling, territories probably would give guys a lot more reason to travel, a lot more incentive to travel, and, probably help get them out the door a little bit more. Like, all right, if this is what you want to do, if this is how you want to do it, you're going to spend 5 months here, and then you're going to go there for 6 months, and that'll be that. And that would actually kick them out of the bird's nest. And like there are possibilities that I can't see, but it is all it takes is somebody with enough Yeah, I mean, for fuck's sake, we got the lead singer of Smashing Pumpkins owns the NWA. Who the fuck thought that was going to be a thing?
Never in my life.
Anything is possible, and fuck if it isn't possible with pro wrestling.
Yeah. You're bringing back WCW again. I'm waving the flag. I want AWA back. So you own WCW, I own AWA, and we're gonna just have a nice working relationship. You got the fuck money, so you're probably gonna own both, and you're just gonna let me run AWA. Did I miss anything? You have a ton of road stories that you could probably, you're going to be back for a part 2 as well. I imagine you have shit that ribs like Glenn talked about, stuff like that. I think there needs to be a part 2 if you're down with that.
Yeah, I'm down for a part 2.
Yeah, I figured as much because we kind of just touched on your aspect of wrestling and got to know you, but I need to hear shitty stories about, I don't know, whatever you do with hot dogs or whatever. I don't know any of this. I'm making it all up on the top of my head. Just random shit. Kind of like Glenn's the last time. So we'll book that and get you back. But did I miss anything that you want to get out there right now? Also give your socials so people can follow you, maybe get into contact with you if they want something from you. And do you have anything planned? I know you haven't been in the ring, but you want to start doing something. Do you have anything planned for us?
Big plans right now. No, I've already committed September. Like, I work as a union insulator. I don't know if you know what that is.
No clue. I'm a garbage man. I don't know much.
All right. I go to the power plants, and I do work there whenever they bring the place down that needs stuff replaced and fixed and do all that, and I do asbestos abatement.
Oh, okay. Hot damn.
Yeah. That's where you get that fuck you.
Yeah, no shit. Hot damn. Good for you. I'll be a garbage man.
But when they have to plan this stuff because it's so fucking hot in these things, they don't do it in the summer. They do it in the spring and the fall. So I got this one thing planned, and I actually I actually had the first summer in four years. I had the first summer that I could actually do something this past summer. It was absolutely phenomenal for my mental health. And that's kind of where I started to come back. Especially after Three Rivers Wrestling and working with Glenn Spector, and all this positive stuff and inspiration. I want to carry that through. So I started putting some stuff out on my socials, which is Iron Drake Studios on Instagram, Facebook. Also Highlander, Mike MacGowan. Is it Michael or Mike? I know it's Highlander MacGowan. There. Also, I have a travel blog on Instagram called Beer Sex Motorcycles.
Yeah, that was the one I was waiting for you to give. Okay.
That is my travel blog. That's my unedited adult entertainment. That's where I travel and I do a lot of stuff. I actually didn't get to do as much traveling as I really wanted to this year. But that's kind of the home for that. And I'm not 100% sure which channel I want to commit to my pro wrestling stuff, because it's easy with the Iron Drake Studios because I do the belts and all kinds of other stuff.
Yeah, that one makes sense.
But my adult, because I'm the sexual Scotsman. I'm from the hedonistic Highlands, so so I get a little bit. It's been easier to be a lot more adult oriented later on than it was early on. But yeah, those are my Beer Sex Motorcycles, and I have links for merch for all of that on my Etsy store. Which you can get links to find. Those are available on my Instagram. But that I do. Like, I don't know if you saw, I have a very, very cool motorcycle.
You do. You really do. I'm not. I don't know why. Like, my family has had motorcycles and ridden them, and I'm not a motorcycle guy, but I can respect and love what they look like. I'm not a motorcycle. I'm a Jeep guy. There's a difference, right? You're either a motorcycle or you're Jeep. You're not both. You can't wave to everybody because we both waved to everybody, right?
Yeah, I do like those Jeep trucks.
With
the full
no.
the full bed on them.
No, those are ugly. Ugly. This is your last interview. You're never coming back on. Absolutely ugly. No, I'm kidding. It's not a Jeep. A Jeep is the old Willys or a Wrangler or something like that. Yeah, none of that truck stuff. Ugh.
I'll get a Bronco then.
Yeah, I do like those. I just don't have $95,000 to spend on them, for the love of God.
Yeah, that's a bit much for just one, and they just came back. So, wait for them to take a couple of years, get all the kinks out of it. Then maybe we'll look at one of those.
Yeah, no doubt. Other than that, we're going to schedule a part 2. We're going to hear some road stories. We're going to talk about some of his matches that maybe have gone wrong. We'll talk about some of the shit that he's done right. And then we'll talk more belts. Because, again, honey, if you have made it this far, remember, Christmas is coming up. You have to put reminders in every once in a while, Michael. You have to put reminders in.
Absolutely. It's the only way that they know.
Right. Yeah. To work them in. So thank you for spending some time with me tonight. This has been a blast.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I wasn't sure what I was getting myself into. All I said was like, hey, I got stories. I've been around a while. You want to chat?
And we chatted, and we're going to chat again. Because
awesome.
I'm sure if you know Glenn, you probably are in the same rat pack as he is.
Oh, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's your introduction to the Highlander, Michael MacGowan. Part 2 is already booked. We're getting set up. See how we're going to continue this trend with people that have been in wrestling a while. Get to know them if you don't know them. And then the second time they come back, they're going to whack your socks off, or whatever the hell that saying is, with the stories, the road stories of independent wrestling in the sake of the Highlander. These are going to be awesome. If he's running the same pack with Glenn Spector, who, if you've heard the last couple of weeks, you know some of these stories are going to be outlandish. Man, I want to thank the Highlander for coming on, spending this much time with us tonight, chit-chatting about getting to know him and about some cool things. He's a humble human being. He really is. And I loved how when I asked him his dream match, like this really hit home to me. And I said it during the podcast that it really hit home. I pinpointed it was going to be Malenko, that he was going to pick Malenko in a submission match or, a 60-minute match or something like that. But he just, and I'm not saying just, like Brandon Kay was one. He wants to wrestle the local wrestlers that he didn't get to wrestle. Man, that's cool. That's cool. That says something. And I love how getting back to bring it back around to the kids, to help the young trainees out and stuff like this. Might have one more big run, one more big match, something like that. But Michael MacGowan, the Highlander, is going to be back on here to tell us what's up. We're going to continue to learn the stories. I love these. I really do. I always say I love doing the weekly shows, the wrap-up shows, and the predictions and stuff like that. But to sit and talk to somebody that's been in wrestling for 25 years, I had a smile on from the beginning to the end. And yes, the Can Crusher title is coming. Remember, just because you're trash doesn't mean you can't do great things. It's called a garbage can, not a garbage cannot.